Hello and welcome to the podcast, everybody. Today's episode is all on how Ayurveda can help you boost energy. And I am speaking to the wonderful Alison Evin, and she is an Ayurvedic health coach with a focus on helping busy professionals fight chronic fatigue with healthy food and holistic lifestyle habits. Alison considers herself a nomad and student of life. She spent time in India where she completed trainings in Ayurveda, yoga, massage, and Reiki healing. She currently lives in Mexico and continues to deepen her knowledge around the natural world with herbalism, mycology, permaculture, and bioconstruction, and Ayurveda, of course. So welcome to the podcast, Alison.
Thanks so much for that introduction, Harmony. So nice to be here with you today.
So nice to have you all the way from Mexico. Is it hot there at the moment?
Actually, the place where I live in central Mexico, it's a little bit of a higher altitude. So it actually gets a little bit chilly sometimes,
wow.
Which I love because then it's not too overwhelmingly hot.
Yeah, true. When I think of Mexico, I just think of hot. So.
Right. Yeah, there's so many microclimates, actually, just like Australia. So many different places you wouldn't imagine are there.
Yeah, true. I always start the podcast with my rapid inspiration questions. So I would like to start by asking you if you could inspire us with what your superpower is.
Yes, I love that question. And I feel like I have a few superpowers, and maybe some of them are still in development. But one superpower that I'm using often in my daily life is my intuition, which we all have. Wow. And for me, my intuition really helps me to read other people, which is very helpful in the work that I do with coaching and consultations, of course. And sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. I feel like I'm very empathetic, meaning that I can pick up on what people are feeling or experiencing at any moment without asking for it. So like I've even had like telepathic experiences with people who are close to me, like my partner. So once again, it's a benefit, but I also have to do like a lot of work on myself so I'm not consumed by other people's energy.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel, do you have quite a bit of Vata in your constitution?
I'm actually mostly Kapha and Pitta, but I have been tuning into my Vata a lot recently. So I love tapping into that more intuitive side that Vata brings.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and I feel that intuition is such a fantastic superpower that we all do have, but it is like a muscle, like you do need to train it. And you do need to be aware of it so that you can listen to it. So that's how it can become a really phenomenal superpower, but you've got to really tune into it. So yeah, and I find a lot of women with that sort of high Vata constitution love to use their intuition for their superpowers. And what is your favorite quote or mantra at the moment?
Well, I love just kind of making a simple mantra for myself on a daily basis when I feel like I really need it. And I know that can change every single day, but I did want to share one quote that a friend shared with me this weekend. I just came out of a very intensive workshop. It was based around like group therapy and relations. And this quote is actually from the Dalai Lama. And I just thought it was so beautiful. So it says, "The true purpose of our life is happiness, which is sustained by hope. We have no guarantees about the future, but we exist in the hope of something better. Hope means thinking, I can do this. It brings inner strength and self-confidence." Yeah, and I really love that quote. I resonate with that quote personally because in the last couple of years, I've really had to work on my own self and letting go of control. So that really, really helped me to feel like things are okay, even if I'm not in control.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing. And last rapid inspiration question, who or what is inspiring you at the moment?
Good question. I feel like in a way I am inspiring myself at the moment, or my life is inspiring me. Yeah, of course, there has been so much happening over the last little while for me. Life has been like very fast, and I'm being offered new projects and opportunities just all the time. And it's very exciting for me. So at the moment, my life is very inspiring for me, and just waking up every day and remembering that I'm so privileged to have the opportunities that I do and to not take things for granted. So that's what it means for me to be inspired.
Amazing. And so what inspired your move to Mexico?
So many things. It's a very long story, but I've been traveling to Mexico for the last several years and have a really, really close group of friends here, and just started building my life here. I now have a partner, I have a home, and the climate is just a lot better than Canada. I'm originally born in Canada, in an area where there are definitely 4 seasons, and the winter and the summer are very extreme. And I'm not a cold person. I have a cold constitution, so I like to be warm. So I found the right place in Mexico that's not too hot, not too cold for me.
Wonderful. I love that. Really creating, the life of your dreams that you want to do. I love that. Love seeing women do that. It's beautiful. Awesome. Well, I would love to kick this episode, I guess, by talking a bit about daily routine, and in Ayurvedic terminology, that's dinacharya. Ayurveda puts a lot of emphasis on daily routine or dinacharya to not only boost energy, but to maintain energy throughout the day. Of course, dinacharya has a lot of other benefits too. So I would love to start this episode by asking you, what is your morning routine, and what is your favorite thing that you personally do to boost your energy?
Definitely. Yeah, I love talking about the daily routine. It's one of my favorite tools in Ayurveda, just because it's so simple to apply once you understand what it is. And it's also free. It's changes and habits that you can implement without necessarily having to pay or invest in anything. And I really see the dinacharya as like the routine of self-care. So it's really focusing on maximizing our productivity in the day, but then also really taking advantage of the moments where we can give ourselves rest and self-care. And as contradicting as it sounds, that's really the best way to boost your energy, is to make sure that you're making time for rest and taking breaks whenever it feels appropriate for you. And so, yeah, that's my favorite part about the dinacharya. I've really been focusing on turning my attention inwards recently. And I find the more that I come back to myself, come back to my center, come back to my own needs, even though there's things calling me from the outside, I can then have the focus and have the capacity to give to what's needed in my job and my relationships in daily life. And of course, I love incorporating herbal medicine and plant allies to support myself with that. Like I mentioned before, I'm a sensitive person, so I really understand that need to balance the nervous system and the hormonal system. And I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk more about that later. But I'll give a little bit of detail of what I personally do in my life for morning routine. As I mentioned before, I'm mainly a kapha constitution. So I've realized that for me, actually changing up my morning routine, or my routines in general, is actually very good for me. So I'm not always stuck in the same thing. So I always make a few minutes of time for myself, at least in the morning. And if I have more time, I savor it and take way longer. But it is always different depending on daily life. I've really been focusing on making my mundane activities into a ritual. So for me, that means seeing all those little details of my life as sacred. And one of my favorite things to do when I wake up in the morning is really make my space nice. So, opening the window, letting in fresh air, smudging my room with some sage or some incense, making my bed very nice. Those little things in my home and my room really set the vibe for my whole day. And that only takes a couple of minutes. And also another way I care for my energy in the morning is not immediately going on the internet, answering messages, scrolling social media. There is a very addictive habit there because it happens sometimes, even if I don't want to do it. But I really try and just focus on what I need in the morning instead of immediately reaching out to my clients or answering emails. When one is working online, we have to take a break from the internet. Yeah. And then also, trying to bring in at least one activity for all three of my bodies. So focusing on the physical body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. And those can also be very simple things or longer. For my body right now, I'm really into movement, but not like hardcore exercise. So going for a walk in nature, doing some yoga, slower movement practices are really working for me at the moment. Also slowing down my mind by writing or journaling or even setting some goals for myself on paper is really great for me to just get out of the monkey mind that Vata sometimes brings us. And then, of course, meditation is great for the spiritual self. And that can also be something very simple, a lot of people are resistant to meditation because they're not familiar with it, but just like taking a few moments, even if in your bed, doing some breathing, doing a bit of a prayer or intention, connecting to source in that way. That's very important for me in the morning.
Beautiful. I really love how you broke it down to the three energy bodies, like addressing your mental mind energy body and your actual physical being body and the spiritual body. That's so beautiful to be able to integrate, a routine to really nourish all of those three things. Because as we know with like Ayurveda is always saying that they're so intricately connected, but in our Western world and we get caught up in the busyness of things, we're really disconnected and isolated those parts of ourselves. So it's really beautiful to bring them back together in a really holistic routine. And I think, Dinacharya, like our daily routine is so underestimated, and people don't even realize that, they're lacking that sort of routine and why they're lacking energy. Because when you have a set routine as well, not only does it awaken all of your senses and your three energy bodies, like you mentioned, but it also helps with that decision fatigue already in the morning. Like it's like, wake up, oh, what do I got to do now? Well, I have to get ready. Where am I going? What's my day looking like? But if you've already got it sort of planned and you can get yourself into this beautiful routine in the morning, it helps to really conserve your energy because you know what you're about to do. And obviously there's lots of Ayurvedic practices that can help boost energy. Like myself, I love to do Nasya if I'm feeling quite depleted in the morning. So that's just a really simple practice of putting a little bit of oil up the nose and inhaling and doing some breath work with that. And the routines don't have to be long. Like, we're both busy. Like I've got a business, I have twins going to school, like I work as a nurse as well. I've got all these things going on. So my routine isn't like long stretched out by any means, but it just sets me up for my day. Just doing those small things that can really help to conserve energy for the day, but also increase energy and address those three energetic body types that you talked about, addressing the mind, the physical body, and the spiritual body. So yeah, I love that you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I really honor that you bring self-care and routine into your life, even though you are so busy and you're a mother and a nurse and so many things. I really honor and respect that you give that care back to yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so being an Ayurveda health coach, I mean, we've sort of touched on this, but how does an Ayurvedic daily routine affect your overall health?
Mhm. For me
Yeah,
personally, or
yeah, for you personally, like how, if you think back to prior, practicing Ayurveda and then now, integrating Ayurvedic routine into your life, like how has that changed your overall health?
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's something very similar to what you just said there. Like basically, well, I can say that the Dinacharya has really transformed my health and life completely. Since before I was practicing and studying Ayurveda, my life was completely different. I almost don't even remember that time. But yeah, I used to have, of course, some self-care practices like yoga, but it was very spontaneous. It was just all over the place, like whenever I felt like doing it or had nothing else to do, right? And now I'm more intentional with my activities. I'm more organized in the way that I go about my day and all of my activities. And in that way, I can make sure that the important things get done. Like I'm not only giving to other people, I'm not only giving to my work or my clients or my family, I'm also giving to myself. And like you said, it does not need to be long and drawn out by any means. Like if we had time, of course, we would take 3 hours to ourselves every morning and every night, but that's just not the reality. So just like really condensing your practices into, 5 minutes for the body, mind, and soul, that's only 15 minutes in your morning. I'm sure if, we spend less time doing other things like being attached to our phones, we would have those 15 minutes. So yeah, for me, it's all been about organization, priorities, and intention. And it's very, very helpful.
True. Yeah, priorities and intention play a big part, and your values of like how you want to live your most inspired life, like what that's going to look like for you. And I know, like with my clients, like as a practitioner, we do herbal medicine, we do a whole lot of therapies and different aspects of Ayurveda. I also integrate, some more modern science and functional lab tests and all of the things. But where I notice the biggest change comes from with my clients is when they implement these really small, easy to do things, such as, an Ayurvedic daily routine and Ayurvedic nutrition. And that is part of why I created my program, Ayurveda Alchemist, which is an accredited program that certifies you to become an Ayurveda lifestyle and wellness coach. Because I was educating my clients with, this education could be taught through a coach as well. And so I just saw such a great benefit in being able to share that with the world, especially with females. And I see a lot of women with hormonal imbalances and also gut health. And it's just so imperative for all of that to really look at it on that really holistic level. So yeah, it's just, so much to say for it. So if you don't have for our listeners, if you don't have a bit of a routine going on in the morning, just have a think about, 5 minutes where you can just wake up, take a couple of breaths, wash your face, just really tap into yourself. Like, do you have, maybe a little 5 minute to 10 minute routine outline that you could share with our listeners that they could do or implement tomorrow?
Definitely. Well, it would be hard to say because it's really depending on what you would do for yourself that makes you feel good. Because what I do for myself may not align with someone else. But like I mentioned before, just really like making a ritual about the things that you are doing. And for me, that also involves being present, right? And of course, it is difficult to come to presence if you have like chaos in your house or in your life. So part of developing that routine is also if you're living in a family situation, like communicating with your family or your roommates, like, I really appreciate if you would like give me 10 minutes in the morning before, we go about our day, that kind of thing. So communication with others is a big thing to implement on its own. But I totally agree with you that some of the biggest changes I have made in my life with the routine have just been so simple. I could share like a few small little tips that I remember learning in school. I remember learning and being so enlightened by the idea of not showering immediately after eating, especially if you're in the kapha times of day, which is in the morning and in the evening. And that was such a deprogrammation, because I remember, being a teenager and living at my parents' house, for example, you wake up, you eat breakfast first thing in the morning, you shower and you go to school, or you come home, you eat dinner later in the evening, and then you shower and you go to bed. And that is like made me realize that I probably have so much built up in my digestive system from not allowing myself to digest properly after a meal. So that was a huge thing to me. I would suggest to listeners to implement their daily routine before they have breakfast, if they eat breakfast, because then you can allow your body to wake up. You can allow your body to be stimulated by some movement, by some self-massage maybe, or a facial routine. And then you can go on to eat your breakfast after you shower, if you choose to shower. So that's one small but very big transformation. And then also a thing that I learned from another herbalist teacher a little bit more recently was pointing out the optimal time of day for hydration is in the morning. So when you wake up until about noon, your body is in that optimal time of needing to be hydrated. And of course, a lot of us do wake up and go straight for coffee. Especially me being a kapha person. I've always been a coffee drinker. I love the taste. I still drink it, but just really enlightened me that I have to actually have water first thing in the morning. I actually should be having more teas and herbs to stimulate my digestive system. Doesn't mean that I can't ever drink coffee, but I choose to drink it a little bit later in the day instead of the first thing that I have in the morning. So when you wake up, give your body at least 2 glasses of fresh water, up to a liter. Make yourself a herbal tea. If you find caffeine is very stimulating for you, like there's so many other great alternatives, which I can touch on later as well. But yeah, just remembering not to let yourself get too dehydrated and stimulated, focus on juices, focus on fruits if you're in a warmer climate as well.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing those tips. Very useful.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main complaints that I do hear from talking about coffee, so one of the main complaints I hear from women in my Ayurveda women's health clinic in Australia is that they lack energy and would love to regain their energy and spark for life. So from your perspective, why do you think energy is such a big issue for women these days? And is it the same in Mexico where you live?
That is a very, potent question and a very interesting topic. I love that you focus on women's health, by the way. I think that's so needed. And of course, women, we are so complex with the balance of our hormones, and there are so many things that we don't know about the medications we may have been taking, the foods we may have been eating throughout our lives that have changed our digestive system and our hormones in such a big way that people are seeing so many chronic health issues. So I think it's a very deep subject, and I really honor your work. But myself also, I see that in my clients who come to me, they usually show up with some sort of hormonal imbalance. However, I do work with men as well. And I don't think it's anything to do with like countries, or maybe not even men and women. I just feel like energy is a huge issue for people in general these days. And I really think it's because we're living in this overworked, overstimulated society that we're in. We're basically programmed to always be wanting to accomplish something, achieve something, like living under the pressure that if we're not doing something, we're not worth anything. So it's like such a huge, deep subject of what we're experiencing in our society in certain cultures. And I think we're also at a peak of recognizing that as human beings, that we can't just keep going in this way. Like so many people are breaking down mentally and physically. So we're in the process of deprogramming ourselves of that go, go, go society, that survival instinct. And especially in the last couple of years, I'm sure you've noticed as well, my clients have been coming to me with chronic stress, fatigue, anxiety, overwhelm, just not being able to function or know what to do on a daily basis. So it's really just coming back to basics. It's really understanding the food that we're eating and why our hormones are the way that they are, and also recognizing that they help us to make the right decisions for ourselves. So yeah, I think the first step is just to recognize where you're at on your journey, whether you're a man or a woman, and just have compassion for yourself that maybe you have been living with habits that have been unconscious for you. And now you can take the first step to find that support on your health journey.
It's so true. Stress and overwhelm is one of the biggest energy consumers, like just having to constantly think and be up in our head. It burns so much of our energy, and that mental fatigue is more exhausting than anything. I think, like, I feel like physically I could, go on doing things for days and days, but if I'm really mentally exhausted, it's just like game changer in a bad way. So yeah,
definitely,
totally agree there. And you did mention like a bit about Ayurvedic nutrition, talking about how we can use those foods to heal ourselves and to regain our energy. So I'd love to hear from you, like, what's your sort of go-to energy booster in the way of Ayurvedic nutrition?
There are so many. I love it. Also, like you, I incorporate different styles of nutrition and herbalism that come from different cultures or modern medicine. But I think the best tool in Ayurveda is, well, first of all, having an understanding of what is your body type. So that's really what I offer in my 90-day reset program. When clients work with me one-on-one, the first thing I offer them is a health consultation so they can discover what is their body type through the lens of Ayurveda, and also what is their imbalances. And then in that way, you can understand what foods would be nourishing for your body type, what foods you should be having less of, and then also understanding what herbs and supplements may support you. And then also the detox, which I know is something that you offer to your clients as well, and that you see the value in. And of course, part of the Ayurvedic detox is using food as medicine. So using really basic but very nourishing types of food that are going to help sustain the energy in your body while allowing it to have a break and cleanse. So really going back to the basics with a mono diet at some point, especially if you're a person who has so many food allergies or triggers, that would be so helpful for your body to just have a relief. So items like khichdi, I cook that on not a daily basis, but once in a while, even when I'm not detoxing, I'll have that in my house because I know that that's something just easy and light and nourishing to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ayurvedic cleanses are amazing to help, reboot the metabolism, or your Agni in Ayurvedic speak. And that's not just Agni as in your digestive system. It's you've got Agni, you've got metabolism in all the cells of your body. So it's really regaining the whole energy of the body. Lack of energy, as we mentioned, it can come down to a combination of metabolic dysfunction at a physical cellular level, also emotional exhaustion, mental fatigue, and burnout. So yeah, an Ayurvedic cleanse or detox, it will address all of those aspects. And I'm actually on one at the moment as we record this. I just felt after the kids just went back to school this week because it was prolonged because of COVID in Australia. We're only peaking now in Queensland. So their school start was delayed. So it was a long holidays and just, a bit of different routine and doing and eating things that, I wouldn't normally. And so I thought, right, I'm getting onto my Ayurvedic cleanse as soon as they go back to school. So I literally started it yesterday as we speak. So I do,
It's
love a good
wonderful.
Ayurvedic cleanse. And I definitely see, I specialize those in my clinic. So I see so many beautiful transformations, and not just on the physical level, like just so much transformation in, people's perspective when they're doing it, even their careers. It's just been fantastic to watch the progress through it. So yeah, I'd love to talk to you more about Ayurvedic cleanses. As you can see, I'm quite passionate about it. I would also just like to mention that they're not always suitable for everyone at different stages of their life. So it is important that when you're doing like a really deep detox and cleanse, that you do work with a practitioner who knows what they're doing in that field. So I'd love to find out what your process is with your clients to help them detox the armor being toxins that may be causing further fatigue in their mind and their body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm also very passionate about cleansing. I find it's very good for my body type. And I also like the challenge too. I have that in my personality. But yeah, definitely it's not for everyone. And it's good to do it with like a guide so that you can get the cleanse that you need for your body, because it might be more gentle or more hardcore, depending on what you need in your system. And I like to offer that in the second module of my program. So the first month, it's a 3-month program. In the first month, the client would find out their body type, what kind of foods they should be eating or not eating, what kind of herbs, understanding the daily routine. And so it's not till the second month, the second module, that they would then implement a 7-day at-home guided detox, right? So it's actually quite basic. It's something that anyone can do. They get like a PDF guide along with my personal guidance. So it feels very supportive. You don't feel like you're alone. You can ask a question if you don't know what to do. But I basically guide most people to choose, if they can, to avoid inflammatory foods. So things like dairy, gluten, sugar, caffeine, alcohol, heavy red meats, heavy foods, fried foods. Those are the basic things. And the 7-day detox that I've designed is based on the Panchakarma system, which I'm sure you've talked about a lot before with your clients and on this show. So it's the Ayurvedic Detox system, which usually takes 30 days, which usually is done in a retreat center where you have like a doctor or a practitioner guiding you, taking care of you, giving you massages. Well, we don't always have the luxury of doing that where we live in the world. We may not have a center like that available to us, or 30 days. So it can be condensed into just 1 week. So there is a lot going on in that week, but people have seen really massive changes just from making those small changes. So like I said, it's just understanding incorrect food choices that you may have been making to build up your ama or mental emotional stress, whatever it may be, using the simple and nourishing foods like soups, smoothies, khichdi, which is a rice and mung dal dish. And then also incorporating some herbs and supplements, depending on your body type, that will help you to gently flush out those toxins, whether that's through your blood system, through your intestinal system, through your colon. And then also encouraging my clients to see that 1 week as like a mini at-home retreat. It doesn't mean you stop doing all your activities, you still attend to your family, to your work, but you're in that mindset of like really taking time to care for yourself, and also preparing in advance, preparing your food so that you're not tempted by other things in your fridge, for example. So yeah, also spending the majority of your time, giving yourself massages or receiving massages, having hot baths or saunas, doing dry brushing. There's a lot of physical activities like nasal cleansing, like you mentioned before, that can detox our body on a daily basis, but very encouraged during the detox.
Brilliant. I actually just recorded a podcast on Ayurvedic cleanses and all the information. So if any of our listeners are interested to learn a little bit more, you can jump onto that episode as well. Yeah.
Yes, I did listen to that episode too. It was a good one. Very easy to understand. And I'm sure the cleanses that you offer are based on something similar from the Panchakarma system as well.
100% sounds very similar.
And it works, right?
It definitely does. Hence why I'm on one right now, because I know that's exactly what my mind and my body needs, just to be able to cleanse fresh for the year, since the year seemed to start a bit later this year.
Exactly. How long is your cleanse going to be, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I'm only doing a 7-day one as well. Yeah.
7 is a great number.
Yeah, absolutely. I do a 14-day one with a lot of my clients, just to do the 3 phases of the cleanse. So the prep phase, the active detox, and the rejuvenation phase. And that works really beautifully. Like, you get really great results over the 14 days. But I feel that if you, like when I said I wasn't eating things I normally would, like I didn't go fully off the rails. Like I wasn't just hammering, donuts and drinking cocktails every day. I still eat very, healthy, and I do a lot of, physical activity and meditation and yoga. So my body's already primed enough just to, slip into, you could do like a 3-day, a 5-day, or a 7-day is a really good time if you've already prepared your body.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And so the other thing that you did mention, or you've mentioned a few times, is Ayurvedic herbal medicine, which is, fantastic to integrate that to help boost energy as well. I would love for you to chat a little bit about your sort of favorite energy boosting herbal medicines, and also about adaptogens.
Yeah, sure. I love this subject as well. It's something that I definitely specialize in. I think just from using herbal medicine so much in my life, and also dealing with burnout and stress on a personal level, I've discovered so many remedies that have really helped me. And so the adaptogens, I'll first start by talking about the adrenal glands, which is a gland in our body that sits on top of our kidneys. And those glands help us to produce and manage hormones in the body. One of the main hormones that's released is cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So because we live in a stressful society and we're encountering a lot of stressful situations in our work, in our daily activities, whether it's conscious or unconscious, our body naturally is producing that cortisol hormone so that we can manage stress naturally. But along with that comes the downfall that we could potentially be burning out our adrenal glands if we're producing too much cortisol and we're not replenishing ourselves. So along with following a daily routine and understanding what foods are good for your body type and managing your stress with things like yoga and meditation, it's also great to incorporate some plant allies onto your healing path. And there is a subcategory of herbal remedies that are called adaptogens. And these substances come from either like roots or leaves of the plant, and they help us to adapt and become resilient when we come in contact with those stressful situations on a daily basis. So this category of herbalism that we call adaptogens is a vital tool to have in your daily life. And some of my favorites, there are so many favorites. I know you have talked about them as well on your show before. One of the most popular ones is ashwagandha, which I really just love saying that word, ashwagandha. It sounds calming, doesn't it? And ashwagandha is quite popular now in Western medicine and herbalism. You can see it in a lot of supplements that are promoted for mental calmness or sleep, because the root of ashwagandha is used as an extract or a powder, and it has those adaptogenic properties that do help us to have better sleep, that do help us to feel mentally calm. But the adaptogens, they're not like magic either. They are and they aren't. You do have to take them for, a few months to see a difference usually. And like I mentioned before, I use herbalism from all different cultures and parts of the world. So there's some really great famous ones in Ayurveda. But then there's also a lot of plants that are not available, like they only grow in India. So I've learned how to really adapt to what is in my local environment. And I feel like when we're eating and using plants and herbs and vegetables that come from where we live, we're then creating a relationship to our environment. So also from being growing up in Canada, I'm very connected with the mushroom kingdom. So I've started working with a lot of medicinal mushrooms on a personal level. And I've actually brought a lot of those boreal tree mushrooms down here to Mexico and use them to make products and share them here, because it's something that's very unique that you can't get in this part of the world. So I really love the synergy of different plants and mushrooms and things that come from other parts of the world.
Yeah, amazing. So you're making your own products, are you, with the mushroom?
Yeah. My partner and we are expanding our herbal dispensary at the moment. Right now we're focusing on medicinal mushrooms, chaga, reishi, turkey tail, lion's mane. They're quite popular these days. Your listeners may be familiar. So we're using we're making tinctures and extracts and teas, and then incorporating some herbs and roots that we have down here. And then, of course, there's a lot that comes from Ayurveda that's available that we don't even know comes from Ayurveda, like turmeric, tulsi. Those things are just very common things that we can find at our local health food store, but they're really strong Ayurvedic roots.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Congratulations with your dispensary. It's really
Thank
exciting.
you.
Yeah, some of the other and Ayurvedic herbs that I really love for mental clarity, which helps us, once we can calm that central nervous system, we regain that energy, right? So I love Brahmi, so I use that quite a bit with my clients as well. And Shilajit for men in particular, and Shatavari for women. There's some really beautiful herbs as well to help with energy. But like any medicine, herbal medicine is a medicine, and they can be really potent and really strong. So you can take the wrong ones for wrong conditions and wrong body types and so on. So it's always really important to work with a practitioner and not self-prescribe these herbs, because they're herbal medicine. They've been used for thousands of years in that way. So if you are looking for herbal prescriptions, then I definitely suggest to tee up with a practitioner.
Yes, I totally agree on that note. That's good to point out that they're so potent and powerful that you do have to know what you're doing and talk to a practitioner in your area.
Yeah, beautiful. So to end the episode, I would love for you to share your top 3 Ayurvedic inspired tips when it comes to morning routines and or boosting your energy naturally through Ayurveda.
Okay, wow, so many tips, and I feel like I can just go on and talk about this forever, but let's see if I can break it down into just 3. Well, the first one I would say is take small steps and see big results. So like we mentioned in this episode, that really is some of the foundations of the Ayurvedic daily routine, is just making that small little change, like every morning, if you wake up with a blocked nose, get yourself a neti pot and see what that's like. Start by just incorporating one change and stick to it for at least a month or longer if you can. For me, Ayurveda is all about the long-term game. So that would be my first tip. The second tip would be, incorporating small little changes into your diet, whether that's with herbs, using herbs in your food, in your cooking. Turmeric, like I mentioned before, that's just like an amazing magical herb that we see everywhere nowadays. Getting yourself some organic turmeric powder and just throw it into everything you make. Throw it into your scrambled eggs, throw it into your smoothie, whatever you're eating. And you'll definitely see a difference from using spices and herbs a lot. And the last tip, I would say, not only having a morning routine, but also having a bedtime routine is very important, of course, for our energy. Once again, just trying to detach from our phone, detach from work, and trying to just like take some time for yourself into the night to wind down. That's also another great time to incorporate your herbal remedies, is before you go to bed. Drinking magnesium. So many people are lacking magnesium, and that's also a very helpful supplement to help yourself to relax physically, mentally, and emotionally. So yeah, carving out that time for yourself in the morning and in the nighttime. Once again, it can just be 15 minutes, nothing super big. And yeah, make it a goal, make it a habit for yourself to stick to those routines, and you'll be proud of yourself.
Totally. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. It's been really fun conversing with you in regards to Dinacharya, how to boost your energy, and Ayurveda. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and imparting some of your Ayurvedic wisdom our way. So would you like to share where our listeners can connect with you?
Definitely. Yeah, I would love for people to reach out and connect if they felt any kind of resonance with me from this episode. You can definitely find me on Instagram. My handle is Alison, ALISON .atmana healing. So ATMANA healing. That's on Instagram. And then my website is www.atmanahealing.com. And there I have more information about my 90-day energy reset program. You can book a discovery call with me. You can learn more about the medicines that I'm making here in Mexico, workshops and retreats. I also have a online offering coming up at the end of February. I'm not sure when this episode will be released, but it will be a 5-day online series with 4 other practitioners and myself from February 23rd to 27th. It's called the Empowered Self series, and I'm going to be sharing some classes about Ayurvedic daily routine, about Ayurvedic doshas, about herbal medicine making. So contact me and you can find out more information about how to register.
Brilliant. Oh my God, when you said retreat in Mexico, I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have an in-person retreat, whether it's this year or next year. It would be great. And hopefully travel becomes more available for us all again.
Yeah, exactly. I've had another lady on the podcast and she runs yoga retreats in Costa Rica as well. And nice. I was like, oh, I'd love to go there too. There's so many amazing places I can't wait to get to once, the world opens up. So.
Well, the cool thing is we can connect online, and I've been doing workshops and retreats online, and you're in Australia, I'm in Mexico. It's absolutely incredible that we have this opportunity to connect. So
100%. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listeners. Namaste.